Hey guys, my name is Erica and today I'm going to be telling you about my favorite book to movie adaptations. So I'm really behind on watching a lot of book to movie adaptations. I've actually never seen The Hunger Games even though I read the books. I've never seen the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children movie even though I read the books. I never saw The Darkest Minds, even though I read the books, but I haven't seen like Love, Simon. I never read that either, or 5 Feet Apart, or Everything. I read that book, never saw the movie. There's just a lot of book to movie adaptations out there, especially nowadays, but I'm going to be telling you my favorite books that have been turned into movies that are actually really amazing that I really enjoy. So let's just get right into it. The first book to movie adaptation that I really appreciated is Ella Enchanted. This is kind of going to be a little controversial because I know there are a lot of people out there who don't like the movie version of Ella Enchanted because they prefer the book. I saw the movie like a million times before I finally read the book. I started the novel a few times when I was in elementary school, but I just never really got into it as much, and then I finally actually sat down and read it years after. Honestly, I think I finally read it maybe like 2 years ago or something. I don't really know. It took me a long time to read it. Honestly, I'm going to be mixing up like what happened in the movie and what happened in the book, but overall, the story follows this girl named Ella. It's basically a Cinderella retelling. So Ella is raised in this place called Frel. It's a fantasy world, there is magic and things like that. When Ella is born, she's given the gift of obedience from her fairy godmother. It's just like a common thing to get gifted with something, especially if you have a fairy godmother. But Ella is raised by her mom and her dad with this gift of obedience. Her mom does pass away, so her dad remarried, and we have the evil stepmother and her evil stepsisters. They treat her horribly and they take advantage of her a lot and force her to do all the chores and everything, but once they find out that she has to obey them, they take advantage of her even more. Ella decides that she wants to break this curse. She wants to find her fairy godmother and break this curse that has been thrust upon her without her decision. While that side of the story is going, she ends up meeting the prince. She doesn't really believe in the king or his politics, and she also goes against the prince. She doesn't like their views on anything. Again, this might just be the movie. I don't really remember the book as well. The movie's just so prominent to me. But Ella goes on this journey to find her fairy godmother to break the curse. Meanwhile, she teams up with the prince. They fall in love. It's really cute. I love the adventure in this story and the cute romance. I really love Anne Hathaway and Hugh Dancy together. I like their chemistry in the movie. It's just really well done. Like, I really enjoy it. It's just like a fun film to watch. It is kind of emotional at times because we do have moments of the abuse towards her gift and then the moment when she finally breaks the curse. It's really beautifully done, and I just have a lot of fun watching the movie. So I know that a lot of people don't enjoy the movie compared to the book and that they're super different. I have a great time when I watch the film, and I just really love the music and the dancing and stuff that happens in there. It's just really cute and enjoyable to me. So yeah, Ella Enchanted is one of my favorites. The next one I'm going to be telling you about is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So Little Women has been made into a bunch of movies. My favorite movie so far with Little Women is the new Greta Gerwig adaptation, which just came out this past year. So Little Women follows the March sisters. We have Jo, Meg, Beth, and Amy. So Meg is the oldest, and we have Jo, and then Beth and Amy. Their father is off fighting in the war, so they're being raised by their mother, Marmee, and she's always doing her best to take care of them, make sure they get what they need, but they really do rely on each other for happiness and for fun and just doing life in general. So the story mainly follows Jo March, who is working to become a professional writer and go to New York and just get her stuff out there for everybody to see. It is a classic novel, and it is one of the only classics that I actually have read and enjoyed. I really appreciate the characters in it, and I just love their relationship with one another. I feel like Greta Gerwig did a really lovely job taking that book and turning it into the movie. I really liked her version of it. It's been a while since I've seen the older versions, but I did really appreciate her eye for the film and the story. I love the cinematography and her timeline as well for that. It starts out in the present and then it moves back to the past. The story gets told really well with the cinematography. We have the really warm colors when it's back in the past. We have the really cold colors when it's back in the present. Things are just a little different at each time, and the way they use the lighting and the coloring is just really beautifully done. And I like the timeline of it because I did like that it wasn't completely linear. I like that I went back and forth from past to present, and it was a little confusing at first for me, but then once you like get started, you just kind of know what's happening. I also have a really good relationship with this story because I was in the musical in high school. I played Beth, and it was definitely a dream role, still another dream role. Like, I don't really do musicals, but if I had to do a musical, it would be Little Women. I think the reason I connect connected so well with this version of the film is because I was really into the musical, and I feel like, for some reason, I feel like this version was more closely related to the musical than it even was like with the book. With just like the way they said things, the way the timing was. The musical starts out in the present and then goes to the past and how Joe got up to that point. So I really like that about the film because I really loved that about the musical. So I just have a really deep connection with the story of Little Women and the characters, and I really liked the casting of the film. I was a little leery about it at first because I'm not a big fan of directors casting super well-known actors in the same film or people that are constantly always working. Like, I just think other actors deserve a chance too. Like, that's just coming from me, who is an actor who struggles. But I just think everyone deserves a chance. However, their dynamic worked really well in the film, and I really did like the characterizations, and I thought the acting was very well done as well. The only problem I had was with Timothée Chalamet's character. He plays Laurie, and Laurie is the male best friend that comes into the story and hangs out with the girls and just becomes a huge part of their life. It's been a while since I read the novel, but to me, Laurie's like this teddy bear, this nice, warm, loving guy. He never tries to hurt anybody. In the movie, he was just portrayed a little, like, kind of shallow to me and not quite as lovable as in the story that I know. So I just kind of had a hard time with that characterization, but other than that, I really love the film and I love the storyline a lot. I just love Little Women. It's so good, and if you have to read a classic, definitely read that one. It's easy to get through, it's cute, it's fun, and it's just, you really fall in love with these characters and their story with one another. My next favorite book to movie adaptation is The Help by Kathryn Stockett. The Help takes place in 1962, Jackson, Mississippi. We follow Abilene, Minnie, and Skeeter. Minnie and Abilene are black maids considered the help. We have the character of Skeeter, who is a writer. She decides she wants to tell these maids stories. So she goes to each of them and personally asks them about their life. Skeeter grew up really close to her maid, and they had a really loving relationship, and she knows how important that these maids are. They get severely mistreated because racism in the South is just at an all-time high, and people are treated horribly over there, and Skeeter decides she wants to tell their story so that people see their perspective. It's such a beautiful story. The book and the film are very well done. There are some differences, but not a whole lot that are super noticeable because I really enjoyed both. Abilene is played by Viola Davis, Minnie is played by Octavia Spencer, and we have Skeeter, who's played by Emma Stone. And then we also have Bryce Dallas Howard, Jessica Chastain, Allison Janney, just a bunch of really iconic actors that are put into this film. It was just so well done. The acting is absolutely incredible. The characters' dynamics, everyone just worked so well together. It's just really lovely. I will cry through like that whole film because it's just so good, and I think the story is really meaningful and kind of shows us that, like, even from the 1960s, racism is still very present in this world, and it's sad, and it's just, this is such an important film, and I think it's good for any time, and the book is just as good, so definitely check it out because it's really important to me, and it's just really important for our time. I love how honest the story is, and it's just so well done. I can't even express it enough. The Help is such a beautiful film and a beautiful book. My next favorite book-to-movie adaptations that I of course have to include in here are The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I could honestly talk about The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings for like this whole video, but I don't want to do that, at least not for this one. Oh, okay. This is kind of a long story. It took me a really long time to actually want to watch The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit movies. So The Lord of the Rings, of course, came out before The Hobbit. Years ago, when I was younger, I did see some of the Lord of the Rings movies. I saw the second one like in theaters with my sister, but then I've never remembered it because I was pretty little. We watched the first movie on our band trip with the symphony playing. I wish I got to do that again now because I would appreciate it so much more because I didn't really care that much for the movie until like now, so that makes me really sad, but it's fine. I read The Hobbit when I was in like 6th grade, and I didn't really care that much about it. It's written mostly for children, so it doesn't go into as many details as the Lord of the Rings trilogy does. It doesn't really go into details about the battle or like the characters. You just kind of find out somebody's dead and you're just like, what? You don't even really get time to like read that or process it in the right way, but it is a children's book, so it's not really like meant for that emotional drive, I guess. So I read The Hobbit, and then I finally decided that I really wanted to read The Lord of the Rings. I read all of the Lord of the Rings books before I saw the movies. Same with The Hobbit. I had seen Lord of the Rings, of course, but I wanted to wait and actually like get into it after I saw the Hobbit movies. And a lot of people don't like that the Hobbit movies were broken into 3 films, even though it's a small one book. but I don't really care because I really like the movies no matter what. So the Hobbit movies are not quite as good as The Lord of the Rings, but I still really enjoy them. I love the actors so much. So the reason I got into The Hobbit was because my sisters were watching the movie and they kept trying to make me watch it. I was just kind of like, this is boring, I don't really care, whatever. Then they were watching the behind the scenes clips. I started watching that with them and immediately fell in love. I loved the actors and their relationships with one another. They had so much fun filming, and Peter Jackson is such a cool guy. He's so chill. Like, if I could work with any director, it would be Peter Jackson because he's just such a chill guy. He doesn't let all this go to his head. Like, he created such masterpieces with The Lord of the Rings, and it's just kind of like, whatever, like, it's just cool to him and he enjoys it so much, and he has such an amazing passion for filmmaking and the fantasy of it all, and I just love it so much. Like, I could watch the behind the scenes clips forever. After watching the behind the scenes, I watched all of the Hobbit movies, and then I got to watch all the Lord of the Rings, and like, they're all just amazing. The Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit films will always mean so much to me. There are some differences, of course, between the films and the books. So we have the character Tauriel, who is a wood elf, that is in the Hobbit movies, who is not in the book. Like, there's a lot of controversy because a lot of people are like, why would they put her in there? But I think that Peter Jackson did a great thing adding her because, first of all, Evangeline Lilly is such a babe. She's such an amazing actress, and I think they did a great job putting her in there. And I liked the addition of Tauriel's character, even though she wasn't in the book. We needed some female power in there. It's such a male-heavy film, so they need some women in there, and I think that she added a lot to it, and I like her story, and I like her falling in love with Killy. It's cute. The Lord of the Rings movies are just amazing. There's like literally nothing that you need to change about them, and we all just hate Frodo. Did you guys know Elijah Wood, he did not read the books before he filmed the movie? And it's amazing to me because he played Frodo extremely well. Like, he nailed that character. And he did such a good job even though he never read the books. Like, he just made it his own. I love The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and they're always going to have a special place in my heart over everything else in this world. And I also have a Hobbit fan video if you guys want to watch. I'll leave a link for that down below. Next up, we have Wonder. Wonder is a story about a little boy named August Pullman who was born with facial deformities and differences that left him needing a lot of different surgeries and different needs, so he was unable to go to school for a lot of his life. Finally, he's in 5th grade, and his mom and dad decide that they want to send him to an actual school. Augie, of course, is very nervous because he's never been around a lot of kids his age, he doesn't have a lot of friends, and he's scared that everyone's going to make fun of him for how he looks. This story not only follows Augie, it follows the story of his sister and some of his friends that he meets while he's in school. And this story really just focuses a lot on bullying and how we shouldn't judge one another, and you don't know what people are going through, and just because someone looks a certain way, you don't know what's in their heart and like how they feel. It really shows you how important kindness is and how you should really always treat other people how you want to be treated. I know that sounds cheesy. The story just is really heartfelt and genuine and truthful. The movie cast is absolutely incredible. We have Jacob Tremblay, Julia Roberts, and Owen Wilson, and they just work really, really well together. I love Jacob Tremblay. He's one of my favorite child actors. He's so amazing. He's so talented, and he works so incredibly hard to portray these characters in such an honest way. And I really love the film and the book and how it goes through different perspectives, people in Augie's life, because we have his sister who is also kind of struggling in school, but his parents really focus mostly on him because he is the one who has special needs. He requires a lot of extra attention, and over the years it has affected his sister a lot, and like, she doesn't have quite as close a relationship with her parents. We also get perspectives into some of his friends who are trying to be nice to him and get to know him, and we follow their journeys too while they're getting to know Augie. I really enjoyed this book and I really enjoyed the film. I did see the movie before I read the book for this one, which I did really like because I like being able to actually visualize everything really well. It's a really important film. It is really hard to watch at times because you do see Augie struggle and his fear that people aren't really going to like him for who he is. So it's just really an important film, and I think it shows everyone that you should always choose kindness. The next one is Room by Emma Donoghue. Room is by far one of my most favorite films of all time. It may not be one of my most favorite books, but definitely film. It's like amazing. So Room follows a woman and her son who are trapped in this shed in this man's backyard. So Joy, the mom, when she was 17, she was kidnapped and then taken to this shed. She was raped by her kidnapper and gave birth to her son, whose name is Jack. So Jack is now turning 5 years old at the beginning of the book. The shed that they're living in is called Room because that's just what he grew up calling it. That is all he's known for his whole entire life. Of his 5 years, that's all he's known is Room. He has special names for everything in the room. Ma always wants to make sure that Jack is happy and healthy. Ma finally decides that Jack is old enough to know about the outside world. She wants to try to escape, but in order to do that, she has to make sure Jack knows what he needs to do and what the outside world is, because all he knows is what he's seen on the TV and what she's told him. He comes up with a plan to help him escape, and hopefully he can come back and get her. The beginning of the book and the movie focuses on them in room trying to get out, and the rest of the story follows them trying to readjust themselves, living in the outside world. It is very new to Jack. He has no idea what the outside world is like. It's a really moving and heartfelt story, but it's also very, very dark. It does have some thrill aspects to it. I have seen it listed as like a thriller, but I wouldn't really consider it a thriller, more of like a drama. There are heavy topics in it, of course. We have rape and suicide. There are also a lot of really touching and beautiful moments, and it is with Jacob Tremblay and Brie Larson. I love them together so much as Ma and Jack. They're just so cute. The acting is absolutely incredible, and the cinematography. We have such gorgeous shots throughout the film, and like the shot when Jack is out in the truck and he's seeing sun for the first time, he rolls out and the shot on his eyes is just absolutely stunning, and his emotions, like, Jacob Tremblay did such an amazing job playing a little 5-year-old, even though he was like 7 or 8 at the time when they made the film. They're so truthful in their acting, and it's just such a beautiful work. It's definitely one of Brie Larson's best performances. Of course, she won her Academy Award for it. The film means a lot to me, and I also really love the book, but I think I love the movie a little bit more. It's one of my favorite films of all time. My last favorite book-to-movie adaptation is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. A Monster Calls follows a little boy, I believe his name is Connor. Connor is struggling because his mom is really sick with cancer. He feels alone, he feels abandoned, and he feels really angry that this is happening to him and to his mom. Kids at school are treating him really differently because they know about his mom, and he's struggling to pay attention in school. His dad lives in America with a new family, so he isn't there for him. So he does end up having to move in with his grandma. He's just really upset and he's hurting. One night he gets visited by a monster. There is a tree that's outside his window that turns into this monster who comes to visit him for 3 nights and tells him a different story each night. So the monster is portrayed by Liam Neeson. Everyone loves Liam Neeson's voice. So each night the monster comes, tells him a different story in hopes that Connor will finally open up and tell him about the nightmare that he's having. Each story is meant to teach Connor some sort of lesson, and the monster is actually so sweet and just wants Connor to figure himself out pretty much. So Connor's having a really hard time facing the fact that his mom is gonna die. The book is pretty short and the artwork in it is really, really beautiful. Felicity Jones plays the mom in the film, and she is my favorite actor of all time. She's pretty much my inspiration and how I want to be as an actor. It's really sad watching this journey because Connor is just so emotional and he's just so angry, and it's hard to watch that. J.A. Bayona directed the film, and he just has such a great eye for dark things. I could talk about movies pretty much all day, especially these movies that mean so much to me, like Room and A Monster Calls, The Hobbit, and The Lord of the Rings. I could talk about it forever, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. That's all I have for you guys today. If you like this video, be sure to give it a nice little thumbs up. If you want to keep following me on this booktube journey, please subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at AirKAGobble. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon with another video. Bye!